Okay, so now you're buddy reading the first paragraph of The Conflict on the Frontier. Go ahead and read that with your friends, and I will come around and help you with any words that are a little bit difficult. Okay, that's sword, nation. Remember that T-I-O-N says shun. Okay. All right, so that's what that word. Let's break it apart. Let's break it apart into syllables, okay? What's the first syllable we see? X. Okay. What's the next syllable we see? And, okay, so now let's just put your finger over those last three letters that say ing and just read the first part that you see. Expand, expand. Okay, now uncover, and what does that ing say? Ing, right? Expanding, okay? That's migrated. That means that they moved. Okay, economic development. That means that they were able to make more money. Okay, so you all have finished reading? Okay, so what is one thing that you learned from? Go ahead and talk to your partners and tell them something that you learned. Okay, you want to share? All right, yep, we know that more people moved to Texas, right? More people moved to Texas. Okay, and why did they move to Texas? What made them want to be here? Go ahead and look at your text and see what it says. What made them want to be here? Remember, we talked about what that word meant in the middle, the economic development. Okay, so they saw some opportunities or chances to make money. Settlers saw some chances to make money. Okay, so that's great, right? It's great that they found some chances to make money, but what was the problem? What was the problem here? Was the land that they were expanding to, was it empty land? Was it clear with nobody living there? No, it wasn't. So what was it? Yeah, you're right. We know that American Indians already lived there. And so, American Indians already lived here. Okay, so let's see if we answered any of our questions that we were wondering. Remember, we were wondering, how was the conflict solved? Who was more aggressive? Why were they fighting? And are people still fighting today? So did it tell us how the conflict was solved in this first paragraph? No, it didn't. In the first paragraph, it just tells us that it got started, right? We're not to the end yet. Who was more aggressive? Does it tell us that yet in this first paragraph? Not yet, no. Why were they fighting? Why were they fighting? Does it tell us this? Let's look at what we learned. The settlers saw chances to make money, and so they went to settle the land, but the American Indians already lived there. Does that give a reason for why people would fight? Think about if all of a sudden your brother decided that he was going to go live in your room and kick you out of it. Would that be a reason for a fight? Yeah, probably, right? So, yes, that was so we were able to answer this question of why were they fighting. Okay, good job. Now I want you to go ahead and read the second paragraph of the conflict on the frontier. Okay, that's Comanche, remember? Okay, so that was a short paragraph, right? So is there anything you learned? Turn to your partners and tell them what you learned. Take a minute to turn and just tell your partner what you learned. You don't have to share it with me right now. Okay, does anyone want to share with me what they learned? Okay, you learned that the Comanche raided the settlements. Okay, and what are the settlements? So places where the people lived, right? So the Comanche raided the settlements. Let's think about why they did. Let's think about why they raided the settlements. Go ahead and talk to your partner and think about why would they raid the settlements. Remember that example I gave of, if your brother just all of a sudden decided that he was going to come and live in your room and leave no room for you. So why would the Comanche be upset about that and raid the settlements? Yeah, they didn't think it was fair. They didn't think it was fair. So that is one thing we learned. Let's see if we answered any of our questions in this paragraph, okay? How was the conflict solved? Did it talk about that yet? How the conflict was solved? No, not yet. Okay, who was more aggressive? Yeah, that paragraph kind of read like the Comanche went and raided the settlement first, even if maybe it was fair for them to. Okay, so maybe they were more aggressive, but were they wrong? You can think about that. People might have different opinions. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna read the third paragraph. Okay, let's go ahead and read the third paragraph of Conflict on the Frontier. So go ahead and turn to your partners and tell them something that you learned from that paragraph. Okay, you want to share with me what you learned? Yes, the government, the United States government, that is when they ended up forcing the American Indians off of the land into reservations, okay, into reservations. So that is when that started after the Civil War. Okay, so we learned that the American government sent the American Indians to reservations. Okay, let's see if we answered any of our questions, okay? So our questions that we have left was, how was the conflict solved? Okay, what do you think? Do you think that the conflict was solved here? Well, maybe the settlers thought it was solved, but do you think that the American Indians are happy? No, so it's a little it's a little dicey about whether it was solved or not when the Indians were forced to leave their homes and go live in places that the government told them to. Okay, so now let's go ahead and read our last paragraph in this section. Okay, and again, I'm going to help you if you have trouble with any of the words. The Southwest. Okay, so now go ahead and turn to your partners and tell them something you learned from this paragraph. Okay, who wants to share with me what they learned? Yes, you remember that they talked about the buffalo soldiers, and you remember that's one of our vocabulary words over here? Okay, yeah, we have the vocabulary right over to the side, the buffalo soldiers. So, well, that kind of makes me answer one of our questions from earlier about if the conflict was solved. If there were troops of buffalo soldiers, and let's read about what buffalo soldiers are. African American soldiers who fought against the Plains Indians in the late 1800s. So if there were soldiers that their job was to fight against the American Indians, then I wonder if the conflict was solved. What do you think? Yeah, no, I don't think so either. Okay, so that is going to be the end of our reading before we get into our next activity.